Hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. Before we get to the show, let's get the pleasantries out of the way.
First of all, our website. If you want more information about our little podcast, go to wearethecontrarians.com. That's where you'll find links to our old episodes, to our Patreon channel, and to our awesome Contrarians merch.
You can show your support by buying a Contrarians mug or a pillow.
I like the laptop bags myself.
Second of all, if you enjoy the show, tell your friends. Or even go a step further and leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts.
Finally, if you want to reach out directly to us, that's what social media is for. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Contrarian Prime, or check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
Julio runs our official Twitter account at Contrarian Prime, but if you want to give me a piece of your mind or just want to banter about pro wrestling, you can follow me at Contrarian Alex.
And that's it. That's our intro.
Now, time for the show.
This is our lesson.
And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for Jurassic World Dominion.
I feel like we need like a sound drop or something here, like a dinosaur roaring.
Yes.
Or that the beginning of the Genesis game where the T-Rex goes, Sega. We need something like that. But
That's not from the movie.
well, it's from the franchise, which at this point, it's still difficult for me to accept that Jurassic Park is a franchise. Like, I don't think about it the way I do like Star Wars or some of these superhero movies, but goddamn, it's definitely etched its place in history with how much money it's brought in. Just thought it was
I was saying, in the movies, the T-Rex is not the one that talks. It's the raptors.
Yeah.
I think it's the third movie. That's true. We're getting there. But
when the next billion is made, they'll
just they'll put that implant that they put on Alexander Skarsgård at the end of Mute so that he can communicate.
Yes.
This means nothing to you because you've forgotten Mute. You've blocked it from your memory.
I'm just nodding along like, but yeah, that'll be how they get people back in to make another million. Is in this one, the T-Rex talks.
Who's the voice of the T-Rex?
I don't know, Danny McBride or some shit. I mean, what would Ron Perlman? Like, you need like a big gravelly voice for a T-Rex. But anyway, before we fantasy book the next entry in the Jurassic Park / World franchise, yes, hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. My name is Alex, joined as always by the Sam Neill to my Laura Dern.
The will they one day we didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Oh, no, I guess, yeah, for the sake of it, neither of us are as talented as Laura Dern. Not to say we're as talented as Sam Neill or Jeff Goldblum, but I'll just say the Goldblum to my Neill, Julio. The patron takeover rages on, and we're here to talk about a very, very recent entry in the medium of film.
Dare I say it, malicious pick from patron Chaz Fisher, who knew exactly what he was doing when he threw this our way, and then he kind of like raised his hands and backed away, and he was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I just said watch this one. I didn't say, Alex, you need to watch 2 other Jurassic World movies.
Which I didn't, to be fair, but we'll get to that in just a second. So yeah, I guess that's the point. Start this off by thanking Chaz. Even, our feelings on the movie will become evident as this episode goes on. But regardless, thank you for being a patron, and thank you for all of our patrons that have continued to make this patron takeover very inconsistent in tone and memorable.
From Elliot Gould to Chris Pratt, just one flick of the wrist.
The natural progression.
Well, I mean, we've talked about Jurassic Park / World here on the show time and again, but we've never really delved into the Jurassic mythology. In a way, it was time. It's just that it's kind of weird when, I don't know, 2-3 episodes ago, we were talking about Jim Carrey playing a policeman in Poland.
We were talking about watching Jim Carrey come, and now dinosaurs are on the screen.
I mean, there's always connections here and there. Chaz has been with us before. He was actually on the show for American Hustle. He was here for the massive Terminator extravaganza. Like I said, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he expects us to do with this 2.5 hour long dino extravaganza.
And there is also the 2:45 like extended cut for some reason.
Is that what the one you watched?
Fuck no.
Oh.
Sorry. No, I respectfully on Amazon Prime, the theatrical version was available with the subscription, but you had to pay extra for the extended version. So I politely declined and chose to go with the theatrical cut.
It's only fair since I'm sure most of our listeners saw it in theaters. So we're not going to confuse them by adding, I don't know, 50 minutes worth of backstory to Omar Sy, maybe? What was missing from this movie? I guess we'll discuss that.
Omar Sy. It's in my notes. I got all excited when he showed up. Then I was like, oh. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get all of the pleasantries out of the way. Again, I'm Alex. He's Julio. We are the Contrarians. What we do here on our little show is we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. That is our battle cry. When we unsheath our sword, not unlike Matthew Broderick at the end of Glory, we charge up the hill and fight the Rotten Tomatoes machine. We find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is high. It's a sword or a bayonet. I can't remember what he does at the end of that movie. It's heroic as fuck, whatever he does. That's all I know. Find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is highly rated in many circles and in the realms of trademarked iconography known as Certified Fresh, and bring that movie down to size, talk about maybe some of the things in it that aren't so great, overrated aspects of it, or things that people just over-celebrated for whatever reasons they concocted in their mind. Conversely, find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is lowly rated, one of those nasty green splotches known as rotten, being that Jurassic Park... sorry, I have such a hard time with the world part. Jurassic World Dominion is at 29%. It falls into that rotten category. We usually shoot for about 30% and below. And as you could guess, make a case for that film's positive merit, some of the under-celebrated parts of it, the parts that those Tomatometer critics at large just didn't really understand. Do this for two reasons. Mainly two reasons. One, shit is subjective. You can be as over the moon about something as you want to be, or as cynical about something as you want to be if you set your mind to it. And two, those Rotten Tomatoes scores, man, don't always tell the whole story, but people really seem to live and die by them, and we're here to tell you, you might want to rethink that philosophy. But that all comprises the first part, or half, of the episodes that we do. Julio, if listeners want to know how we really feel about the movie du jour, the movie we're tackling, and in this case, Jurassic World Dominion, they just have to stick around for the second half, or part 2 of our episode.
That is correct. Part 2 of every episode, aptly titled Real Talk. That's where we tell you how we really feel. We forget about the gimmick of the Tomatometer, and we just tell you how we experience the movie and whether we've experienced it before. Like I've mentioned already, Alex hadn't seen any of the Chris Pratt Jurassic Worlds. I had. I watched the first one, the first Jurassic World, in theaters when it came out. And I watched the second one. What is the second one called? Lost Kingdom? Fallen Kingdom? Which one's the No Doubt album and which one is the Jurassic World movie?
The seminal 90s album by No Doubt is Tragic Kingdom, and I can recite that album page and verse. What I cannot recite page and verse, rather, is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Okay, well, they're in the same universe, I'm sure.
You watch your fucking tongue, young man.
So I watched that one. I didn't go to theaters. I watched it many months after the fact on streaming, and then I kind of missed this one, Dominion. It was out in theaters, and then before you knew it, it feels like it was on Paramount Plus right away.
Peacock.
Well, now it's on Peacock, right? Or was it always on Peacock?
I want to say it launched on Peacock because I remember, as many of you know, that the WWE film library is on Peacock, and so that app is opened daily in this household. And I remember that the splash and everything in the app was advertising Jurassic World Dominion.
Okay, well, I defer to your Peacock knowledge. So if you want to know how I really feel, how Alex really feels, and maybe how Chaz really feels, we're still... it's up in the air whether he'll send us a message with his thoughts or not, at least for this recording. But all that stuff happens in Real Talk. But first, This movie is 29% in the Tomatometer. That means it's rotten. That means that we're going to say really nice things about it on Contrarians Corner. And Alex, did you notice the disparity between the green splotch that the critics gave this movie and the golden, buttery, upright popcorn tub that the audience gave it?
I did not. What's
77% audience score.
Well, Donald Trump also won an election a few years ago, so and not just any election, for the president of the United States. So you'll forgive me if I don't take the public opinion too seriously.
Allie, you didn't come out all this way just to catch up now, did you?
Before we go into Contrarians Corner proper, recounting the plot and all the stuff, and there will be some recounting, because Alex, I mean, I expect you to give me a brief recap of how it all started. You did watch the first Jurassic World, right?
I did, yes.
The one that you own. And then I can maybe tell you what I remember of the second one.
Fair trade.
But I have quotes. Rotten quotes from the Rotten Tomatoes website. We're going to start with Dallas King. Is that a real name? Dallas King from Flick Feast.
That's what they called me in college.
He says, Jurassic World Dominion is the worst thing to happen to the dinosaurs since that meteor 65 million years ago. This is how a franchise dies, with raptor-less applause.
I mean, that's speaking for the dinosaurs like that is pretty ballsy, man.
Yeah, this is how the world ends. This is how the world ends. Next, Lisa Trifone from Third Coast Review says, an overstuffed, overlong creature feature that strays so far from the wonder that first enchanted us that it's hard to see the connective tissue to its predecessor. I think the connective tissue is right there in the shape of Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum. You didn't have to strain your eyes.
No.
Next, Sarah Mars from Laney Gossip says, Jurassic World Dominion is really like being at the biggest, best buffet on the planet and choosing to eat nothing but plain lettuce. I like the analogy, but what exactly, what is the buffet in this scenario? The Jurassic Park franchise? Dinosaurs?
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about that.
Paramount?
That parable there, that analogy.
I would say that original trio is anything but plain. I think Jeff Goldblum has just, I mean, Laura Dern, of course, I mean, she has an Oscar, and Sam Neill is, Sam Neill, but Jeff Goldblum in particular, I mean, he has this very specific type of star power. I can't imagine you would say anything with Jeff Goldblum in it is plain. Certainly not plain lettuce. It's like doubling down on the plainness. And we're going to close with Dan Merle from Dan Merle Reviews, who says, it's the equivalent of calling Trevorrow banging pots and pans for 2.5 hours to keep you distracted from the fact that nothing you're seeing really means anything. Banging pots and pans for 2.5 hours. That's what they gave Top Gun Maverick Best Picture nomination just this year.
Was it also 2.5 hours long?
I think it was like 2:15. So Trevorrow overdid it. He topped Cruise by 15 minutes.
That also had Jennifer Connelly, though.
Well, this has Bryce Dallas Howard, the original Gwen Stacy.
Ooh.
Christian Bale's wife in Terminator Salvation.
Dude, I was about to say, a storied history does one Bryce Dallas Howard have with the Contrarians. If this is your first episode for whatever reason, scroll back through the catalog and find the movies with Bryce Dallas Howard, because views will differ depending on film. Her hair looked better in this than it did in Twilight, so it's got that going for it.
Well, those are the quotes, Alex. So I guess as we ease into Contrarians Corner, like I said, I would like to hear the Alex Mattis 2-minute recap of Jurassic World. What is this brave new world that has Chris Pratt at its center?
Yeah, so just to recap, a few years ago, I guess my dad found it, and he'll sometimes just get me like a bundle of movies, and I guess it was in a discount bin or something, and one of them was, I think he gave me 12 Monkeys, and which is another one we're doing soon, and Jurassic World and something else on Blu-ray, and just like, yeah, movies for your collection. And I was like, why the fuck did you get me Jurassic World? And so, joking with him, he's like, you need a modern blockbuster in your collection.
He's not wrong.
Well, so because of that, I never got around to it because I had just, my mind kind of made up about it. And in preparation for this, I took it off the shelf, took the shrink wrapping off of it and popped it in and watched it. And I enjoyed it. Too long, but, I'm going to say that about almost anything these days. That movie made $1.6 billion. And so basically, the idea of this is that dinosaurs are around, man, and our hero, what's his name, Owen, Chris Pratt, is like, he works with the raptors specifically, and he knows these animals, and he's, kind of a gritty, salt of the earth, bacon and eggs kind of guy. And he works outside of what Jurassic World is, and it's like I said, it's like fucking Disney World. Like there's rides, and you go to the exhibit where that big one is that's like amphibious, and you watch it feed and get these orbs and go out and get to experience the different creatures and dinosaurs and all that. And like Bryce Dallas Howard runs the show there. And then so in Jurassic World that goes wrong. The T-Rex or whatever gets out and starts creating chaos. So all these people are basically trapped in this amusement park while all these dinosaurs run amok. And Bryce Dallas Howard's nephews are there, and she learns throughout the course of it, to kind of let your hair down and live life and, kind of take it moment by moment. And Chris Pratt they team up to save the day. And then, they become like an item by the end of the movie. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun enough. And then my understanding is they evacuate the island and the dinosaurs are just kind of there to live. And then from what I read in the plot synopsis of the second one, which I did not watch, Fallen Kingdom, it sounds like they, for whatever dumb reason, they go back to the island because a volcano is going to go off. So they go back to free these dinosaurs, and in the process figure out that there's like some company that's genetically engineering dinosaurs and creatures to be made, and then somehow dinosaurs just get set loose on the world at the end of the movie, and that's kind of where we pick up here. I forgot to mention that Vincent D'Onofrio is the bad guy in Jurassic World. That's a very, very big thing to call out.
Yes. I don't remember who the bad guy is in the second one, and I will tell you there are two big things that happen in the second movie. Three things. The three things I remember. One is that you kind of undersold it, but I understand because you haven't seen the movie. But it is actually kind of heartbreaking to see that volcano go off and basically all those dinosaurs die. It's like a big sequence at the beginning of the movie where, because they're animals and they're just kind of. And this movie explores it even further.
Dude, I hate that shit. I love, I say this all the time. I'm not a vegan or anything. And yes, I understand that, in a certain light that could be seen as hypocritical, but I love animals so fucking much. Like at the end of this movie, I was like, God damn it. Like when the little one was reunited with its mom, and I was just like, fuck, man. Like this is emotional. And yeah, it's just what you're saying. I haven't seen it, but I can imagine. I have not. I will never see a dinosaur in my life. I will never establish an emotional attachment to or relationship with a dinosaur. But I fucking love my dog more than anything in the world. And like, they have the mannerisms in these dinosaurs similar to any other animal that when they're hurt, I'm like, oh, like, kill who did that to you.
Yep. And you add to it that basically, if I remember correctly, the movie has that question of like, well, we created them and then we just like plop them in an island where they're going to die because this natural disaster is happening. And so there's a lot going on about rescuing the dinosaurs or, whatever happens. Most of the movie has to do with the surviving dinosaurs or dinosaurs that are being genetically re-engineered or whatever are in this mansion, and Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard break into that mansion. And they find the clone girl that becomes their daughter in this movie. And
okay, that was going to be one of my questions. If that very extremely necessary character came up in the second one.
Yes, that is the other big thing. It's like the big reveal that she's not your standard human. She's a clone, and so because using the technology they used to clone the dinosaurs, and now they're cloning people, and so that was the other big thing. And then the third big thing is that Bryce Dallas Howard is responsible. She makes the decision to let the dinosaurs out into the world. So they're in this compound, and at the end of the movie, like the big climax is that she has to choose whether to, there's a button or there's two buttons. One button kills them, like with gas, and they're all gonna die because they're contained, and the other button opens the door and they run out into the world. And so she opens the door.
It's the opening scene where Juliette Binoche dies in Godzilla, pretty much.
Yes, except that Bryan Cranston is not there to cry. Instead, it's Chris Pratt just kind of like holding his hand to his mouth and just going like, "Oh my God, you did it!" The next movie is going to be about dinosaurs in the city, which it kind of is. And I guess a final thing is that Jeff Goldblum, who had been widely promoted as being part of that movie, he shows up for 2 minutes at the end to give a speech about how like we're all heading towards the apocalypse or something.
Unforeseen consequences occur.
And every time, every single time, we all act surprised.
Well, we set the table, so forgive us if we kind of spark through some of this, the early happenings here of Dominion. The movie begins with the dinosaurs are among us now, so we have to learn to live together. You see like a shrimping boat or something. It looks like it's out deep in the ocean to retrieve fish of some sort, and the big amphibious dinosaur comes up and eats it, like the ship, and knocks it over, knocks the camera off the ship, and I was immediately like, why is there a film camera on this ship?
Well, I think that if you live in a world where dinosaurs are all around, you want to document that.
You want everything on Instagram more so than you do right now.
Yes.
Bryce Dallas Howard's like a freedom fighter of some sort. She fights her way into this, not observatory, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's like a compound where they genetically engineer dinosaurs.
It's a dino farm.
Yeah, it's, not unlike some of those documentaries about, cows that are milked and shit like that. They take one that's dying and, bring it back to life. It's very cute. I'm sure they sold lots of toys off of it.
Well, you watched Jurassic World, the first one, so removed from everything surrounded it at the time that you probably are not aware of this, but the big controversy when Jurassic World came out was that Bryce Dallas Howard, there's at least one scene where she's running away with Chris Pratt. They're running away from a dinosaur or something, and she's running in heels, and people just really fixated on that. Like, why? That's so stupid. Why is she running in heels and whatever? And
trust me, if there's something you want to call out in that movie for being stupid, that's the last of it.
That was kind of my reaction, but still, I guess I was pointing that out. I was bringing that up because she's come a long way, like her character, right? We see her now, and she's definitely not she's not wearing heels. She's not wearing the power suit or whatever she was wearing back in the first iteration of this.
Oh yeah,
world.
no, she's learned to let her. She wears a flannel, and she probably listens to fucking the Alice in Chains Unplugged album. I'm not joking. That's like one of the best albums of all time. But, she definitely has adapted more, and she doesn't have to wear a dress. We see Owen, Chris Pratt in this, and he's fucking wrangling dinosaurs while riding a horseback. My note just says, what the absolute fuck? Because this is a long ways away from where I left off at the end of Jurassic World.
But not quite. I mean, yes, but it makes sense, right? It's like the natural evolution of his character. He used to wrangle raptors, and now he's just expanded his abilities to all other sorts of wild dinosaurs running out there.
Yeah, he does a good job.
He has his power move, right? Where he lifts his hand. Talk to the hands.
We learn about the child that we already talked about, the clone. That is a very, it's a precious, hot commodity. It's Did you get Looper vibes here? I was like, is this kid the fucking Rainmaker? Like, what are you protecting this kid so much for? What's the kid's name?
Oh, fuck.
Macy?
Lucy?
Micey?
Heather?
Who's Lucy? Micey, M-A-I-S-I-E.
She's the clone.
She's British.
They cloned her with a British accent. I always assumed that clones automatically came out American. If you come out with the accent of like the country that cloned you.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this, but you would talk how you're talked to. So I guess no. We learned in this that she was raised around a British accent, so all good. Checks out there.
Nurture versus nature.
So we got the kid. She's living with Owen and Claire. She also wears a flannel, and there's little dinosaurs running around there. There's the Blue, which is a character that held on from the first one. One of the raptors that Owen has a relationship with has.
Could you point at the screen?
A little raptor,
like Leo. Like, hey, I know that dinosaur.
Yeah, point at the screen. Has a baby of their own, Beta, as we learn. That's Macy has named it, Macy, whatever, and. Yeah, it's just at this point, we're getting to know everybody again. Oscar winner Laura Dern shows up. She visits Sam Neill, Dr. Alan Grant. We see that he is not moved on,
from anything.
Like all of us. There's the girl from college or, your early 20s, that the one that got away, and every once in a while you check on her Instagram page and
you see,
like a post there and there. But
you do not slide into her DMs because you're a gentleman.
Well, that, and also he has a picture of them together from 1993 in his office that he forgot that he has hanging up. It's creepy behavior. And then we get the explanation of where are your kids? Oh, they're both in college now. Which, man, okay. So that first one was 1993. This is 20 years later.
No,
it must be
30.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, that's even worse.
What's worse? I think that all three of them have aged gracefully and beautifully.
I know. I just mean are her kids 27-year-old seniors in college? But they're back together and they've been summoned, or not they, but Laura Dern, Ellie, has been summoned by Jeff Goldblum, Dr. Ian Malcolm, to come out to this remote island, Biosyn, where he's working, and it's kind of a piece of the puzzle to going on, because the big thing we see is these giant mutant, I thought it was an overgrown grasshopper at first, but it's these locusts that are pillaging, just destroying crops that aren't planted or seeds of Biosyn. And the thought is this is going to lead to an absolute global famine, and not unlike AI coming into the scene now, and it's going to take several 100 million jobs from people.
Yeah, the farmers are considering going on strike, but the timetable is too quick. We only have 2.5 hours here. So Alex, this is just level with me. How hard did the nostalgia hit you when you just spent a whole movie and at least 2 decades removed from the original crew of Jurassic Park? Now you go into this movie thinking it's Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and then now you see these familiar sights. You see Alan Grant with his daddy beard now, and but he still has the hat, and he has the chemistry with Laura Dern. Just level with me, because I will level with you. This is where the movie hooked me. It was like a warm embrace. All the way from the 90s. I'm not a big fan of The Lost World, not a big fan of Jurassic Park 3, but that first Jurassic Park movie, I watched it several times when I was much younger.
Oh, yeah.
And so to see these characters all these years later, and it turns out that they're okay. They're still respected professionals in their field, and they're still, even the way later when we see Jeff Goldblum, he still has his soul, even though he's kind of sold out. So I don't know. I think that this is where the movie really becomes something special. Before that, it's just it's just fun. It's another dinosaur movie with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. But then when you see these older characters come in and just have start interacting in a world that's at least 20 years removed from the last time we saw them, that's really cool.
What about splicing DNA? Creating new species?
No, Dr. Sattler, we don't do that here. We like to think we're more evolved.
I think that sometimes nostalgia feels like a cheap ploy to get audiences invested, and sometimes nostalgia is worth it. It's if you're gonna bring back these characters, make me feel for them. And I was interested in seeing where they were in their lives right now. Just the idea that their minds were blown when they went to Jurassic Park back in 1993. And it was just a handful of dinosaurs in a contained space. And they almost died. Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler and Ian Malcolm, they almost died. And now, decades later, they're living in a world where dinosaurs are everywhere around the corner. You're taking an Uber and there's like a Brontosaurus across the street. So I just liked that we got to see this new world through the eyes of characters that we hadn't seen in a long time. Did you have a similar experience, or were you more interested in the hip new characters like the Chris Pratt and the Bryce Dallas Howard and is this Justice Smith? I think the kid that has the contact at the CIA or the FBI or whatever they have.
Somewhere between like my reactions to Force Awakens and the 2018 Halloween, when like Laurie and Michael were on screen together again.
Like, where's Loomis?
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of just looking forward to Jeff Goldblum showing back up. And, he doesn't have too much in this. They definitely use him as like a appreciate what you have now because you're not going to have it for long type thing.
Jesus.
In the confines of the movie, because he shows up and makes his speech and then like he's gone before you know it,
I thought you knew something about Jeff Goldblum that I didn't know. Like, is he retiring?
Oh, no. I meant in the sense of like he shows up and you're like, hell yeah, it's Jeff Goldblum. And then, it just teaches you appreciate what's in front of you right here, because for the next 5 hours of this movie, you may not have much of it. So they're off to Biosyn. Elsewhere, we already mentioned, Bryce Dallas Howard's been acclimated to the country. She comes out drinking a PBR and just, looking out. Poachers or hunters or bounty hunters or someone comes and kidnaps the girl and the baby raptor. They're going to get it back. They're selling it to somebody who's going to be, we don't know who at this point, but someone needs them. And we know they're important.
So Chris Pratt jumps into action.
He does. He meets up with some of the people who have intel. He knows they're going to, where do they go? Malta?
Yes. Why do they go there? Because Omar Sy is there. That's why.
In the Mediterranean. Yeah. When the guy is like, we have some operatives on the inside and they show Omar Sy's picture. That's when I did the Leo. I was like, yeah, right there. It's the guy. So, all right. They're off to find the wee ones. As I mentioned, Laura Dern and Sam Neill go meet up with Jeff Goldblum. There's another guy working there, and we learn that this locust thing is part of a conspiracy that was launched by Biosyn, but there's the one guy who wants to reverse it. Who's that? Is that BD Wong? Is that guy's name?
Yes, that's the scientist that has all the YouTube videos of Maisie's mom.
That's right. And then the guy who runs the show there is
Campbell Scott. It's Peter Parker's dad.
Why did this guy not get cast to play Steve Jobs? Because that's what he's doing in this movie.
Alex, Contrarians Corner, real talk. I don't know what Campbell Scott is doing in this movie. I don't know what his stake was in the character, but I love it. He's just kind of like absent-minded. He's not trying to be threatening, but he does a lot of really bad stuff. Is
it gum or mints? What is he constantly popping? Or is it like somas? Is he just like there to party?
I think so. he keeps trailing off. He'll start saying something, whether it's something friendly or something threatening, and then he just kind of gets distracted and goes somewhere else.
Fair enough.
I mean, I love it. It's good. It's kind of like what we needed at this point. We're 6 movies into this franchise, and you had the Kingpin as a bad guy in the first Jurassic World, so you kind of have to vary it a little bit. I geek out. I mean, I don't see Campbell Scott in a lot of things. So whenever I see him in a movie, I'm like, it's that guy. And like I said, he plays Peter Parker's dad in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So,
well, there you go.
Much like this movie, his career is all over the place.
I laugh and joke, but that movie made $700 million and this made $1 billion. So fucking joke's on me. So we're in Malta, in the Mediterranean Sea. Omar Sy does show up, so we're looking good. We're in good shape here.
Yeah, this is the opposite of what we've been talking about, right? Like so far, every time we meet a character that we know, we're like, that makes sense. You can kind of fill in the blanks of last time I saw them and where they are now. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. okay, Omar Sy in Jurassic World, he's just Chris Pratt's assistant. And now he is a dark ops operative.
Dude, so my note here says, what is this, the fucking Matrix? Because, like, these people that are there to pick up the little girl and the raptor are dressed unlike anyone else in the movie. And then we go to, like, this black market where they're selling dinosaurs and shit. That is, like, to me, you know, and Omar Sy's there kind of like, this is what you have to look out for. You know, he's there to smarten him up. That should have been the whole movie. This black market idea of dinosaurs getting sold. There's the guy who's like cooking them and selling them, and
Yeah. Well, that is the through line of the movie, or at least one of them, which is, I mean, we had to get to this point, right? I guess every Jurassic Park movie has been about humanity kind of sucking and ruining things, and you know, this is why we can't have nice things, and this just takes it to basically its logical conclusion. If we recreated dinosaurs, then we would eventually find a way to exploit those dinosaurs, make those dinosaurs' lives miserable, and also use these dinosaurs and this technology to potentially end the world. Humans suck. Yeah, you're right. When you see all these sequences, that's I mean, I applaud the movie for recognizing that it's a summer blockbuster, so it can't get too deep into these ideas. Because you're right, you could make a movie that's just about the underworld of this black market and just the really nasty things that people do with dinosaurs. But that movie is a little more depressing, not quite as exciting, or not quite as family friendly as what we got here. So, I mean, you got to take what you're given, and I appreciate that there's nuggets of this world spread throughout this movie, and but then in the end, what I'm here for is to see Chris Pratt and Omar Sy team up and just beat up the bad guys.
Dude, this is the Rancor pit escape is what happens. Like the way it's like shot, the colors of it, like the set they use and everything, and you know, the bad guy is getting in the way and getting eaten and shit. It's just, you know, Chris Pratt's Luke Skywalker getting out of the Rancor pit. And the fucking dinosaurs in the scene do look pretty cool. There's one guy that just like scoops a random dude on his iPod off the street and just eats him up.
And this new technology that they have, they've trained the raptors to be like my cats. They just chase a laser dot. Like you point the laser and the raptor goes there. That's pretty endearing. That's the trick this movie pulls, is what we were talking about earlier, right? These are monsters. They're threatening. They're bad news for our characters. So I don't want Chris Pratt to get eaten by this dinosaur chasing him, but I also don't want the dinosaur to get hurt, because the dinosaur is just, you know, being playful, just running around, acting on instinct. And again, it didn't ask to be brought here. So I appreciate that the movie kind of like divided my loyalties, and I was just, you know, if I wanted somebody to get hurt, was the actual humans that were bad guys.
Atrociraptors. Thoroughbreds. Trained to kill.
Kill who?
Whoever they're told. Laser marks the target, they attach to the scent, don't stop till it's dead. Inescapable.
Back at Biosyn, we learned that Macy was not necessarily a clone of Charlotte, as we thought. This girl died when she was young, and then her grandfather cloned her to have like his granddaughter back. But what we learn is that Charlotte used her own DNA to self-conceive. And that's what we find out about. Blue also has that same ability to become pregnant on their own. And we learned Charlotte had a genetic disorder that she was able to alter the DNA of her baby to ensure that she doesn't have it. That's Macy, of course. So we learned the whole fucking point here is that the DNA of Macy and Beta, the baby raptor, could change the course of humankind forever.
So Maisie is not a clone. She is her own mother, in a way. She's her mother-daughter.
Yeah, man. It's Godzilla 97, pretty much.
You know, you want the movie about the black market. I want the movie about just this revolutionary technology where, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the dinosaurs. I love Chris Pratt. I love Sam Neill, Laura Dern, everybody. But give me the Jurassic World spin-off that's just about the scientists that are coming up with these breakthroughs where a woman gets herself pregnant with herself. That's a mind bender. Just put David Fincher on that thing, or David Cronenberg, and just let's see what happens.
So this puts the pieces together. Meanwhile, there's just chaos all around. Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt make it off the island with a pilot. This character, was she in the second one, Julio?
I don't think so. I think this is the
this is the extent of our introduction to this character. Okay.
Well, every movie has to bring something new. You know, you can't just bring new dinosaurs. You have to bring new people. And so this is, I actually wrote her name. Hang on.
DeWanda Wise.
Yes, DeWanda Wise. You can tell she knew that this is it. This is a big break. She is the new character in the new Jurassic World movie, right? The first one, the first Jurassic World had Jake Johnson there. You know, he was the new. What's Newman's name in Jurassic Park?
I don't know. He's Newman, man.
Yeah, he was the Newman for the new generation. That was Jake Johnson, and then
he was the new man.
Yes. And then the second movie had Justice Smith, who's the guy the kid that gets them the contact to Omar Sy in this movie, you know. And now this movie has this lady, and she has to stand shoulder to shoulder with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and later on in the movie with the original cast of Jurassic Park, and she has to hold her own, and I think she does. You know, there's even though we keep talking about the 2.5 hour runtime, I mean that is actually almost not enough for so many characters. So it's you need actors and actresses that rise to the challenge of standing out with very limited screen time, and she does it.
So they're flying. It doesn't work out the way, you know, it's kind of like the A-Team where the plane's going down. So one of them has to get out, and Bryce Dallas Howard gets ejected, and she kind of flies for a bit and then lands in like this forest where there's, I guess, like a blind dinosaur. I guess just an old guy, you know, kind of like, you know, when dogs get older, they get cataracts and stuff. So he still had a good sniffer though. He was sniffing for some food, and he found that deer and he realized, I don't want to eat this, and just kind of chucked it to the side.
Did even cross your mind that this could be it for Chris Pratt and the pilot? No. I had like for half a second.
They get the Captain America scene. There's a Marvel reference I can make. Isn't that the end of one of the Captain America movies where he flies into the ice?
Yeah, the first one.
Okay, yeah.
This is one of my favorite parts of the movie, actually. And not just because for a brief moment I was like, man, is this it? Because I was doing the math in my head, Alex, and I'm like, there's so many characters. We have to start losing people, right? And I mean, it kind of makes sense now that I've seen the whole movie. Yeah, Omar Sy shows up, but he doesn't stick around for too long. The kind of mercenaries from the black market, you know, they show up there, but they don't stick around for the rest of the movie. Justice Smith is there for like 2 scenes. He also leaves, you know. But I was thinking, if we're gonna keep these manageable, we might lose Pratt and the pilot. And so when he tells Bryce Dallas Howard, hey, you need to do this, you're gonna find our daughter, I'll see you later. Like, I thought that maybe that was it. Like, and then of course the curse of knowing how things work came back to haunt me. I'm like, there's no way they kill Chris Pratt with like, you know, half a movie left. So, but for a moment, but the reason that this is actually one of my favorite moments is that it shows again how far the Bryce Dallas Howard character has come. Because if you're going to eject someone into this jungle that's full of dinosaurs, you would think that you're gonna eject the guy that's trained to kind of control dinosaurs, right? Like the dinosaur whisperer that is Chris Pratt. But instead, he chooses to stay with the plane because he has so much trust on Bryce Dallas Howard and the woman that she has become, just how capable she is now that she's, you know, she lives in the ranch. And she is tasked with surviving the wilderness out there. And I thought that was pretty telling. And like, it's not like the movie underscores it or anything. It's just, if you've been paying attention, you just notice that, oh yeah, that's right. She's a bona fide action hero now, and that's cool.
So yeah, all these things are coming to a head. We learn, which to me was the biggest twist in the entire movie, as Sattler and Grant are getting away. They get in, they get a sample of this locust that needs to be, figured out because they're trying to blow the lid off this conspiracy. That's the whole reason Jeff Goldblum brought them in. They're cut off by Ramsey Cole, the actor Mamoudou Athie. I apologize, sir, if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Ramsey Cole's the character, and when he's the guy that brings them on to the island, like shows them where to go and shit. So I just immediately assumed he was going to turn out to be a bad guy, and here we learn that he's not a bad guy. He wants to help them out. That was a big twist for me because you get used to all these really tried and played out tropes in action movies. So I was like, hell yeah, he's a good guy. One more for the good guys, so he helps them escape. But again, Steve Jobs is the bad guy, so he tries to cut them off when he can.
And by now they have reunited with Maisie. They've crossed paths.
Correct.
It's you slowly start seeing how everything is how the puzzle comes together, right? Because the entire thing is you're waiting for the new generation and the past generation to come together and face the dinosaurs and Peter Parker's dad, and so we're, I don't know, 90 minutes into the movie, and that hasn't happened yet. But now at least you have Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler hanging out with the clone daughter of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. So it's inevitable. It's coming.
Yes, and they're protecting her. She said they know the score. They know what's going on. This begins. Lewis Dodgson pretty much just fuck it. I'm not even gonna pretend to be a good guy anymore. He brings in Jeff Goldblum and fires him. Jeff Goldblum gets his Jerry Maguire scene where he's like, well, before I go, I have some things I want to say. He does his CM Punk pipe bomb promo here where he tells people, he's so busy promoting you that you never, have the time to grasp critical thought. Or he basically is like telling these people how stupid they are, but it's making it sound nice. It's classic Goldblum.
Yeah. He's making it sound like it's their privilege to hear him tell them how much they suck.
Exactly. So everyone's on the run. Chris Pratt and DeWanda Wise are running away from dinosaurs. Bryce Dallas Howard's running away from dinosaurs. This is where Campbell Scott realizes, his goose is cooked, and so he's going to destroy the evidence, and he sets fire to the lab with all the locusts in it, and they escape, and they're trying to fly and put themselves out, and they start dropping all around and setting this forest around on fire. They're landing on dinosaurs and shit. Just in case you're not sure what's happening, Laura Dern says he's burning the evidence. And
well, she's, her character is from 3 decades ago when movies needed to spell things out a little more.
Thank you. And in all this commotion, all these parties finally come together because the caravan that's being driven by Dr. Alan Grant that has Sattler, Grant, Macy, and Jeff Goldblum in it flips, and they're rescued by Owen, and I think Claire's there at this point, and DeWanda Wise, and
yep.
They're all together.
I think does the John Williams score kicks in at this point?
I think so.
The classic.
They're 2 steps away from saying, come with me if you want to live. A gigantosaur, some genetically engineered dinosaur shows up, and they run into what appears to be like this really lofty 70s high-rise apartment and hide out there for a little while. And they chase off this big guy, and at this point I realize there's still 40 minutes left in this movie.
Well, you just got them together. I mean, how cheated would you have felt if they came together and then that was it, like end credits? You need to give that group, some time to breathe.
Don't move.
So this is followed up by the chainsaw moment of all chainsaw moments, where we see inside Dr. Lewis Dodgson's office, and he has the can of shaving cream from the first Jurassic Park.
Did you elbow your sister?
I did just say it's the chainsaw, just quietly as I was watching this movie.
There's a few. Well, I wouldn't say callbacks, but more like what do you call this? I mean, I hate that fan service has become this
nods.
Nod. But not even. Sometimes it's not even nods, but just little bits of interaction that have nothing to do with the plot, but it's exactly what I wanted from this movie, right? I think it's when Chris Pratt tells Alan Grant, Sam Neill, it's like, hey, I read your book. right? And then Alan Grant's like, oh, I've heard of you. You worked at Jurassic. You're the raptor wrangler. And then later, Jeff Goldblum is like, so how's that work? You just talk to the raptors, and these little interactions. I was like, yes, that's why you bring these characters together, so that they can talk about the silliness of their lives and the silliness of their franchises. I just needed, I wish that this could have gone on for longer. Give me 30 extra minutes where they're just talking about like how crazy it was that how crazy it is that they keep trying to open these amusement parks with dinosaurs and hey, remember Newman and remember David Attenborough, I think that's the name of the guy that runs the first Jurassic Park. I don't know. That's the beauty of it. You just brought all these actors together, these characters together. They can just kind of like hang out and talk about things. I think that Ellie gets to do a little bit of therapy with Bryce Dallas Howard, where she tells her, hey, you got to move on. You got to forgive yourself.
Because what did she say? It's like if we
live in the past, we
don't move forward or something like that.
And you're like, what is she talking about? Because you didn't know that Bryce Dallas Howard was responsible for letting the dinosaurs roam the earth.
Ah, that's where guilt comes from. I see.
Yeah. But anyway, I know we're just talking about Chris Pratt not dying in that plane crash, but now that we were getting closer to the end, the climax, did you think that they were all going to make it?
Yes. At this point, yes.
Really? I honestly thought that Goldblum was going to die because, he was kind of he was being portrayed as the most shallow of them, as he was from the beginning of the franchise. And I thought that maybe, there's that moment where he grabs the flare and he's trying to get the dinosaur's attention. And he did something like that in the first movie. And that's how he got hurt. So I thought that maybe they were doing that callback because this time he wasn't going to be so lucky. He's older now and he wasn't going to survive that type of stunt. So I was kind of relieved that I didn't have to suffer through a Jeff Goldblum death in this one.
Well, like I said, there's 40 minutes left in the movie, so anything could have happened. But I just kind of, based on the tone of everything, I was not expecting it. But Ramsey Cole gets his hero origin story when Dodgson is like, just you and me now, man. We're gonna rebuild and restart from here. And he's just like, not me, and walks away while Rome is burning, so to speak.
He throws his employee badge on the desk. I'm out.
Campbell Scott tries to take off on the People Mover, the Epcot monorail, and he thinks he's home free, and then he is accosted by 3 raptors, and my note just says Raptor gangbang because they all surround him, and then it cuts to black, and nothing good happened after that.
Do you remember his final line? Campbell Scott's.
Does he say, like, what's your deal or something?
Yep. Amazing. Okay. Just perplexing to the end. I'm sure he ad-libbed that. And Trevor was just like, fuck it, sure, why not? It's of a piece with the rest of the performance.
So everyone else, the good guys, are all working on escaping, and they get outside of the premises, and they find a chopper they're heading towards, and they are cut off by the Gigantosaur or T-Rex or whatever, just multiple gigantic dinosaurs, one of which walks past, for some reason, this big circular fountain, and does so parallel to it, and the light hits it at just the right angle as he's walking through, that it recreates the logo of the franchise. And my God, what brilliant filmmaking here.
Hey, it's like in Batman 89 when Michael Keaton flies the Batwing into the moon, or in front of the moon.
Yeah. We eventually make it. We know we're going to. There's some crazy like Wolverinosaurus though that they made that has like these giant claws that kill the bad guy and the bad dinosaur or whatever.
No. The Wolverinosaurus is the bad guy.
Oh, is it? Okay. I couldn't tell.
No, the T-Rex is another through line of the entire franchise is that the T-Rex always comes back to save the day.
Okay.
And here I thought that the T-Rex had finally met its demise, but then apparently it was just taking a nap because he's knocked out, but then he wakes up and it's him and some other dinosaur. It's like, I figured you would appreciate this even more than I did because it was kind of like a wrestling match where they tagged the T-Rex out, some other dinosaur came in, and then the T-Rex ate the ref and then jumped back into the ring. But it's pretty impressive. It's like what you want from your climatic scene in a Jurassic Park movie. Dinosaurs fighting while the humans just stare and hope that they don't die.
They escaped, though. A lot of kisses, a lot of longing hugs. Laura Dern and Sam Neill get their moment in the sun. It's pretty fantastic. And I think, what's her name? Macy. Isabel Sermon realizes, may not be her biological parents, but she knows who her mom and dad are.
Along the way, they picked up BD Wong. I just
That's
remember
right,
that.
yeah. Because he thinks he can reverse what's happening and, help for a brighter tomorrow. And when they get back to, their land, Owen and Claire, that is, they take Beta and give it back to Blue. And there's a really sweet moment of Blue and Beta embracing, and they run off together, but not before Blue comes back and looks at Chris Pratt, and they have this moment of, it's like the can of vegetables and Christopher Maloney at the end of Wet Hot American Summer. They, one says thank you, and bows thank you, and they nod back at each other, and it's a brighter tomorrow. And we learn that all of our characters, we see that they're adapting, and we're going to adapt. We're going to learn how to live with dinosaurs in the world and just figure out and make a go of it.
There's no going back.
There is no going back on the dinosaurs or this movie or this franchise. And pretty cool ending.
But it was satisfying in a way, because I was afraid that this was going to be about the old guard passing the torch to the new guard. And I was like, I don't need that. I and we've talked about this before in other episodes where I'm like, I have trouble with those movies where they try to do this is the successor, the journey ends for this character and he passes the torch to the next one. There was no torch passing. It was all torch sharing. Everybody was sharing the torch, and I didn't feel like, oh, that was the end of Alan Grant, the end of Ellie Sattler or Ian Malcolm. No, they're still there. They can show up again in the franchise if they want to, and if they don't, that's okay. They got their happy ending. It was good. I was satisfied. I don't know why people talk about it like it's the last in the franchise, because obviously they've set up a whole new world that can be explored for years and years to come. So here's to the next Jurassic World. Maybe the next one will be Jurassic Universe, and it's Chris Pratt just in a spaceship with a raccoon. Actually, that's Guardians of the Galaxy, Alex. It's already happened.
Yeah, you joke, but Chris Pratt signed on to the most lucrative franchises in modern Hollywood, with the exception of Star Wars. So I think he's doing all right.
Do you think that he was comparing notes with Laura Dern? It's like, how much do you make?
Yeah, so that movie replays on premium cable. How much money you get? So brings an end to Contrarians Corner of Jurassic World Dominion, just a shade under 3 hours less than the actual movie.
Well, let's do it, Alex. Let's go to real talk. Let's have a heart-to-heart about this movie.
For whatever reason, let's go back to the island again. Yes.
What is that?
Giganotosaurus. Biggest carnivore the world has ever seen.